Good evening and thank you for joining us for KREM 2 News at 6. I'm Mark Hanrahan.
And I'm Whitney Ward. Thank you for being here. Our top story tonight, Eastern Washington University's interim president is recommending that the school's athletic program remain in Division I and that the school keeps its football program.
Beyond sports, though, the interim president also recommending cuts to degree programs, and it's now up to the school's board of trustees to make a final decision. KREM 2's Amanda Rowley live at Eastern tonight to explain what all this means and what students are saying tonight. Amanda?
Good evening. The Eastern Washington University and Cheney community held its breath this afternoon, waiting to find out what might be the fate of the school's athletic department. Turns out interim president David May recommended to the board of trustees that Eastern remains in Division I and keeps its football program.
Eastern Washington University is having these tough discussions because it's in the middle of a budget crisis. The university hired an independent consultant to review the school's athletics. The findings of that report showed that when other schools dropped its football program, it had a negative impact on enrollment. Interim President David May also said of the 180 responses from the community, Eastern students, and alumni, 135 supported staying in Division I. This and other input from the community led May to his recommendation.
So this recommendation considers that a decision to change athletic conferences or reduce the number of sports sponsored could be detrimental to the university's pursuit of its mission through the institutional strategic plan. Moving to a lower tier of athletic participation would most likely decrease the diversity of the student body within athletics, and almost certainly would hamper efforts to diversify the student body overall.
I think our football and our sports are really what makes our school, and it makes the culture great around here. So I think it'd be a really great thing to keep us in D1.
Trevor Bowens was a punter for the Eagles for 2 years. He's glad to hear the president supports staying in Division I and not cutting football.
Honestly, I'm kind of happy about it just because I work with everybody that plays here, so I know that they want to stay Division I, and just like overall, I think it's better for the school. It just brings in more money. Fans will be happier that we're staying at the division that we're in.
We do not know what remaining in Division I means for the school's budget, but the president did say the university may not be able to fully support other sports. Not knowing the budget impacts of this recommendation made Eastern's student trustee feel uneasy.
We've had this conversation many times in the past, and so if we're going to make a decision that's sustainable for the future, how are we able to do that without knowing the budget first?
The way forward is to make a mission-based rather than a budget-based decision.
Now today, a few student athletes told us in passing on campus today they are relieved to hear that the president supports remaining in Division I and keeping the football program. But to be clear, this is only a recommendation from the president to the board of trustees. The board is expected to vote on this in June. Now joining me here, we have Joshua Robinson. He's been talking to other students here today about another announcement that the president made about the possibility of eliminating some programs.
Yeah, the conversation being had on campus right now is really looking at some of the programs that could also be on the chopping block. We're talking about the potential for a bachelor's in musical jazz performance. We're talking about musical theater majors. Just imagine, Amanda, what it's like for these students who have plenty of questions, especially the new ones coming onto campus, whether it's this coming fall for the first time, a second year. So for those incoming freshmen who are really looking at some of Eastern Washington's music or journalism programs, which are on the chopping block, there are plenty of questions now until a final decision comes down. It might be too late to change their fall plans. As for sophomores, many of whom spent the past year unable to actually come onto Eastern's campus, if they were part of one of these programs, they've got a lot of questions asked too. I talked to one of those students, John Allison, who's been studying journalism from afar. And he's going into this weekend feeling very anxious about not just his own education here, but the education of his fellow students and the incoming journalism students.
The freshman students who have committed to Eastern Washington because they wanted to go to journalism, and now, they probably missed their opportunity to maybe, back out of going to Eastern and going to another school. So it just adds a lot of stress for parents and also, for everybody.
I also reached out to Dr. Jody Graves, who is a graduate program director with Eastern's music program. She brought up that some of the majors Eastern will be losing or shifting away. Those actually she's optimistic about. She says there are ways that the program can basically figure out how to adopt and adapt to these cuts or changes when they're made. But she did admit to me that she can understand why other students in other majors that are getting cut might feel uneasy today.
I hope that we go forward with the idea of how to collaborate and grow rather than come at it from a place of lack. We think of it as, well, how can we be creative and how can we find solutions forward?
And to hear more from Jody, John, and plenty of other reaction today, check out the KREM 2 News tonight at 10 and 11. We will bring you the latest updates tonight. Back to you.
Joshua, thank you very much. And for weeks now, there has been talk that Eastern's interim president was considering dropping football altogether or dropping athletics down to Division II or Division III to mitigate some of those schools' budget woes.
So today's announcement was certainly some good news for the athletics department. Our Brenna Green spoke with Eastern Athletic Director Lynn Hickey this afternoon about the interim president's recommendation. Brenna, live now also from Eastern Washington University tonight. Brenna?
Yes, Mark Whitney. Hickey told me she did not know what David May would recommend to the Board of Trustees this afternoon, but obviously she's thrilled with the outcome.
Very appreciative of the president's support. That was good news to hear that he's feels good about our value and our purpose in the mission of the university.
Eastern Washington was the lone athletic department in the nation this year that sent a team to the men's NCAA basketball tournament and the FCS playoffs. Overall, it's been an extremely successful athletic department, especially in terms of budget constraints.
And I feel confident in the value that we bring, and I am so proud of our students and our coaches that I think we have a lot of merit to be able to continue the program.
Obviously, though, there are people who do not feel the same way, as some faculty members have been proponents of getting rid of athletics altogether. David Cyphers, who will soon be the president of Eastern's faculty organization, came out with a strong statement this afternoon of his disappointment in the recommendation from May. Lynn Hickey says her responsibilities lie with the coaches and athletes in her department, along with those she reports to.
Well, first of all, you know, I answer to the president and to the Board of Trustees, and we're going to work real hard to do a really good job of taking care of the responsibilities that they give me in this department.
She also denies that this is a campus-wide issue, stating that this is a small group of faculty who are not in favor of athletics.
The majority of our faculty and our student body are very supportive. This community is supportive, so I think to say that this is a campus divided, I don't think that's a true statement.
At the end of the day, this final decision will come in June from the Board of Trustees, so Hickey will have to wait a bit longer for a direction, but after the last year and a half, that's fine with her.
Hey, we've been waiting about 14, 15 months, so this is a piece of cake now. We're fine. We're fine. We'll be all right.
One of the things that May did say today in terms of making changes is that he's recommending that sports go into tiers. So that means that some sports would have less scholarships, less money in terms of travel, and would have a smaller recruiting budget. Hickey told me that she hasn't spoken to anybody within the administration about what that would look like. So we'll just have to wait and see if the board decides to go with May's recommendation there. Reporting at Roos Field, I'm Brenna Green, KREM 2 Sports.
All right, Brenna, thank you very much. We also today spoke with the man who authored an in-depth report earlier this year spelling out all of Eastern's budget troubles. This afternoon, David Cyphers told me that Eastern athletics have a disproportionate chunk of the university budget and that despite popular opinion, leaving Division I is the best move.
Essentially, we can keep the sports that we have right now. It's just a lot cheaper to run them. You don't have as many coaches. You don't pay the coaches as much. If I look at Central Washington University or Western Washington University, both of which are Division II, Central has football, Western does not. I can look at their budgets and see what do real live Division II schools look like, and their budgets are much smaller than ours in terms of how much the university gives them. So they do have lower revenue in terms of football tickets, right? They just don't sell as many football tickets. They can't charge as high a price for them, but their costs are so much lower that they save a lot of money compared to Eastern.
What do you say to those who would vehemently argue against that idea and say that having high caliber sports helps bring in new students, which has been kind of the recurring problem for many years?
I would say, show me the evidence. When the Washington Post put together a collection of schools that had won high-profile sports competitions, Eastern Washington University, for example, shows up as a case study of no effect on enrollment, right? That 2010 win shows up as no effect on enrollment. When I looked at us, making it to the football championships a few years ago, no effect on enrollment.
David is currently a physics and astronomy professor at Eastern, and he's also the incoming president of the faculty organization. He told me Eastern is already losing many of its top faculty members because of all this uncertainty, and he said that problem is likely to only get worse.
Let's switch gears a bit, talk weather. We've seen a bit of rain throughout this week so far. Now the weekend is finally here. Let's get to meteorologist Tom Sherry. And Tom, in Brenna's live shot, we saw those ominous clouds, those dark clouds behind her. How's it looking out there for you?
Well, it's crazy. I look over here towards the west and I actually see blue sky. I look over here to the east and I see those ominous clouds. Well, you can see them right here on Lake Coeur d'Alene, looking to the east and the south, actually southeast at Lake Coeur d'Alene. So yeah, we've got cloud cover headed our way. 60 degrees, that is the current temperature right now. The wind is blowing, wind out of the east-northeast right now at 21 miles per hour. When you look at the satellite radar picture, Mark, you can actually see the cloud covers all to the east of the Spokane area. This is all going to push into our region. Matter of fact, tomorrow when we get rain, and we will get some rain on Saturday, it's going to move from east to west. Normally we see our weather systems move from west to east, so kind of a little bit different thing. So for the weekend, we'll look for showers in the morning, heavier rain possible around 2:30, 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. At least the temperatures return to average. 68 the expected high on Saturday. Sunday, we'll look for some pop-up afternoon showers. I don't think it will be as wet as Saturday, and it gets a little warmer too. We'll look for a high of 71. Remember, you're on the 6 o'clock broadcast here, folks. This is a bonus show. I'm going to show you the 10-day outlook. That's all coming up in a few minutes.
Hey, that's getting out there, Tom.
It sure is.
Thank you very much. All right, still ahead. 24 hours after it was announced, the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas is holding. We'll have more on that story coming up next in a few minutes.